to day 3 of our Live Happy Stitch Along. Today we are going to be appliquing the V in place and the little blue guy up here. Okay, this is one of those times where if you have if you purchase the kit, this is another time where you need to save your extra wool because you're going to be using it for a block later on. But if you have the whole kit at once, you can go ahead and iron them all on at the same time, and that way for sure you'll know that they fit. I would be thinking the same thing when it comes time. The other part of this that we need to do is this little flower that will be on top here, and I have it placed on your freezer paper such that you can just put the whole thing on your blue wool at once. But if you are one of the people that's tracing it, there should be room on, well, if you don't have this kit, then you can use whatever blue wool you've got. But there's plenty of room for that to fit on the blue wool. So you could just put that little guy up in the corner if you wanted to. But I would just conserve as much space on your wool as you can in case you need it for other things, or in case there's something else, in case you want to save it for something else where you could use it. But remember, because it's freezer paper, if you're using fusible of any kind, then it doesn't work that way. But if it's freezer paper, you can just peel it off and use it later. So see, there's quite a bit more blue in your kit than what you're going to need. I'm going to go ahead and iron those both on right now, but I'm only going to cut out the little guy for today. All right, you have practiced now appliquing those in place, so let's get those placed and appliqued, and then we'll be back. The instructions for today say, on day 3, we are to cut the V out of the orange wool and the flower out of the blue wool. We're to applique them in place, and then with blue thread, we are to sew a chain stitch around the outside of the V and then backstitch across the top, down, up, and across. And if you see, where is the Live colorful page? Here it is. You can see that the outside here is thicker because it's got the chain stitch, and then we switch to backstitch, and chain stitch around here. Okay, let's get going. See you back here in a minute with them appliqued in place. Okay, here we go with our second half of day 3. We've got our V in place. You'll notice that my little guy up here is not stitched down. That's because I was unprepared and did not bring the right color of thread to stitch him down. And since I don't need him until later, after I get to go home from this trip, I'm going to go ahead and stitch him down later. So the instructions say we're supposed to do a chain stitch around the outside of the V and a back stitch across the top and down the middle. So we're going to start right up here in the corner. For the chain stitch, I have my blue thread threaded onto a chenille needle. A chain stitch is not a wrapped stitch, so we don't have to worry about the bullion knot needle. We're going to come out, and much like the rest of these stitches around the outside of the letters, this entire stitch will be on the black. Okay. The mantra that I have for this stitch always begins with, your thread is in the way, so get it out of the way by putting it behind your left thumb. Okay, so keep the thread out of the way. And then it goes like this. Go down where you came out, take a bite. A bite is what I call the needle going down in and coming out. Sometimes I'll say a big bite, long bite, 1/4 inch bite, that's a bite. Okay, so go down where you came out. You want to be careful when you're going down where you came out that you don't shred through those threads. So you really want it to be like right next to where you came out. Okay, go down where you came out, take a bite. How big of a bite? You'll get to decide. They can be different lengths. Put the thread behind the needle. So now bring it out from under that thumb and put it behind the needle and pull it through. And that will make a little chain right there. Do you see the little chain? Okay, don't pull it too tight. You kind of want it to look like that. Same thing again. Get your thread out of the way, tuck it under that thumb. And we go down where you came out. So this time it'll be inside that loop because that's where it comes out. Take a bite, thread behind the needle, and pull it through. Keep your thread out of the way, go down where you came out, take a bite, thread behind the needle, and pull it through. Go down where you came out, take a bite, thread behind the needle, and pull it through. And that's it. We're just going to keep going all the way down doing that same thing. Each time, if you pull it too tight, you'll lose your loop in the middle, which is okay. You can loosen it up and get it back again. But the chain stitch kind of looks best if it's got a little bit of a loop in the middle. Down where you came out, take a bite, thread behind the needle, pull it through. Get that thread out of the way, down where you came out, take a bite, thread behind the needle, and pull it through. Down where you came out, take a bite, thread behind the needle, and pull it through. This one, as far as turning corners goes, it's best that you end on the corner. So as you're getting closer, again, you want to plan your stitches. So it doesn't really have a super sharp corner because they're sort of funky letters. It's supposed to look like they're just hand-drawn, whatever. So I'm not going to have to worry about it on this corner very much. Just turn, you go into the corner and then you kind of turn and go the next direction. Sometimes a little bit smaller stitch when you have sharp twists to make that aren't sharp corners, then it helps to just make a little bit smaller stitch, because then it will, smaller stitches smooth out easier than long stitches do. Long stitches tend to look a little, well, choppy, I guess is the right word. Okay, it looks like my tail's getting a little too long, so I'm going to pull through my tail. Okay, the tail is the extra thread, and I want my tail to be as long as it can be and still be out of the way, because that means I'm pulling my thread less of a distance. This is especially important on an airplane, because the guy next to you, when you put the thread behind the needle and pull it through and you stretch your arm all the way over into his seat, he is not happy. Okay, you can see that this time I've got a tiny little stitch here, so that's what I'm going to do, right to the corner. Well, just past the corner so it'll turn. So that last one's just going to be a little guy right there. And that'll make it so I can turn. And now we just need to chain stitch up this side. Okay, we have reached the end of this side right here. Don't forget that at the end of a chain stitch, you've got to tack that last little loop down. So just go down on the other side of it and tack it down. We're going to do a little bit of a sort of stabby thing right now, just because now we need to talk about the back stitch. Do you remember the back stitch? We have to start at number 2 and go back to number 1. So we're going to start right here. Number 2, go back to number 1. I might need to untwist my threads. Forward to number 3. I'm going to turn it a little bit because my hands are going to get in the way if I'm holding it that way. So it's not that I can't do it that way, it's that you can't see when I do it that way. So back to number 2, out at the new spot, number 4 out here. Back to number 3. Out to number 5. I don't usually I'm not very good at keeping track past number 5, so I just start saying back to the old, out to the new, back to the old. And we're going to go all the way down to the corner, back up and across the top, and that will finish up what we're ready for day 3.